everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tea, Tentacles, and Talk, cozy conversations about LGBTQ plus romance. I'm your host, Chloe Archer, and before we get started, I'm going to do a couple of quick updates today. It is November 2023, and I have a lot going on this month. So on November 13th, my novella in the Monsters Hollow series, The Demon and the Librarian, comes out. It has a wonderful cover by the mega talented Natasha Snow. It's beautiful. This was previously published in the Fated Mates Paranormal Romance Charity Anthology that was out in September and October. There isn't any new content in this, so if you had it already in the previous collection, I just wanted to give a heads up for that. But if you missed the Fated Mates Charity Anthology, or if you just want to buy a copy to support me or read it in KU again, it will be there. And then on November 24th, Black Friday, my Christmas novel, sorry, it was going to be a novella, but it's actually a novel now. Because I can't write short, not easily anyway. All I Want for Christmas is Tentacles, a winter holiday tentacle romance, which is part of the Tinsel and Tentacles multi-author collaboration, comes out. And it is a super fun Christmas alien abduction rom-com that will warm your heart and give you all the super swoony, happy, romantic Christmas feels. So make sure to check that out. And I also have my very first Sign and Ship event coming up. I will be posting the link here, but it's an opportunity for folks who want to buy signed paperbacks from me and get also some of my special custom stickers for Tentacular Tales and Monsters Hollow. So make sure to check that out if you're interested in buying yourself a little winter holiday present for yourself. Without further ado now, I'm going to jump into our episode for November. Enjoy. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Tea, Tentacles, and Talk, cozy conversations about LGBTQ plus romance. I'm your host, Chloe Archer, and I am here today with a fantastic guest, Joe Cosentino. Let me tell you a little bit about Joe, and we're going to get into a wonderful interview. Joe Cosentino has appeared in principal acting roles in film, television, and theater, opposite stars such as Bruce Willis, Rosie O'Donnell, Nathan Lane, Holland Taylor, Charles Keating, and Jason Robards. His novel, Drama Queen, the first of his 18 Nicky and Noah mystery novels, was voted Favorite LGBT Mystery Novel of the Year by the readers of Divine magazine. He also wrote the 5 Jana Lane mystery novels, 2-player piano mysteries, 5 Cozzi Cove novels, and the In My Heart series, the Tales from Fairyland Anthology, the Bobby and Paolo holiday stories, and the Found at Last series, for a total of 34 novels. He is an emeritus professor, a college theater professor, and happily married. Joe, welcome to the show. That is an impressive bio.
Thank you. And by the way, I love your glasses.
Oh,
love
thank
those.
you. Yes, I have a thing for sparkly, fun glasses, and I loved Dame Edna as a child. And so, I'm just embracing that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm so glad that you were able to join me on the show today. I love talking with other authors who are writing within LGBTQ romance more broadly, but other subgenres too. And your background is really quite diverse and fascinating, both in terms of like your acting background, but then also working as a professor. Some of my readers know, not all of them, I'm not exactly hiding it per se, but I do use a pen name, but I am a college film professor. So, I think it's interesting. It's always cool to meet other fellow academics who have gone the path of writing and self-publishing. So, can you tell us a little bit about sort of how, from your varied career, you ended up getting into writing LGBT fiction?
Sure. Well, first, I want to tell you that in Drama Queen, the book you mentioned, the first Nicky and Noah mystery, I killed off the film professor.
I know. I just started reading the series, and I read the first book, which is delightful, by the way. And I was like, oh no, the film professor bites it.
Actually, 5 professors bite it in Drama
Yes,
Queen.
I know.
But the last one is the film professor. But I didn't know you at the time. Don't take it personally.
No, I won't. But I feel like, were there like some like long-standing, like, oh, there's some people that really annoyed me in my academic career, and I'm gonna kill them off in fiction?
Well, as you said, there's 18 Nicky and Noah mystery novels. The last one, Drama King, just released. And there's 5 murders per book generally. So you think a lot of people must have ticked me off.
Right.
Students, professors, critics, police officers. I mean, it goes on and on. But they're comedy mysteries, so it's not really vendetta. They're very campy and funny, and so I have a lot of fun with it. And the characters are maybe loosely based on people I might have met, but not specific, exact, direct copies of people.
Yeah, if you're killing off 5 per book, you're gonna have to invent a few along the way. Right. I would anyway.
That's right. Yes. But to answer your question about how I started writing, when I was a little kid, I think I was 3 or 4 years old, my sister dressed me as Jesus, herself as Mary, and my cousin Michael as Joseph. And we put on a little nativity play in the backyard. People came, threw money at us, and I loved it. I was the star, and that's how I was bitten by the acting bug. And as you said, I became an actor first. I majored in theater in college and became an actor. And then I started writing plays. Then I became a college theater professor, and I started reading LGBTQ romance novels published by Dreamspinner Press. And I thought, I could do this. And so I took one of my plays, An Infatuation, and I adapted it to a novella. And that's how I started. This is the An Infatuation's loosely based on my high school years, and A Shooting Star is loosely based on my college years.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I published these through Dreamspinner Press. And they really took off. Big sales and really good reviews. And it was a great way to get started because it just propelled me in the field. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything. And it was a great way to get started and to just get a lot of readers and people emailing me and saying, oh, this moved me so much. It's the best book I read, or all the wonderful things that you want to hear. And of course, the bad things you don't read. You just, read those. But I got a lot of really
everyone.
I mean, I'm sure you did with your books too.
Oh, yeah.
What I find is, and maybe you do too, is that the people who love my books and post, they change their lives and they were so wonderful. You just revel in that. And that's why you write. And the negative ones, I find, aren't so much about the books, but about maybe they're homophobic or they don't like that genre.
Right.
So I always think, well, why are you reading that genre if you don't like it?
Right.
Something else.
Yeah. I mean, everyone gets negative reviews of some kind. I don't tend to spend a lot of time fixating on them. I'll sometimes, look to see if there are any patterns. Like, is there something I should be thinking about? But yeah, oftentimes it's just personal preferences. Some things are some people's cup of tea and others are not. I think that, personally, and I don't know if this was the same for you, both being an actor and being used to like theatrical reviews, but also being an academic, I was used to academic criticism of work. And honestly, that has always been much harsher than anything that I've received as a fiction author. So I had a thicker skin, I think, than some people going into it.
The academic world is a rough world.
Yeah.
I was also department chair. I taught 33 years theater and 18 of which I was department chair. And I was always very kind and supportive. I looked at critique as, here's what's good, here's some ideas to get better. But the academic world that's one of the reasons I set the Nicky and Noah Mysteries in a college theater department, because it's a place of humor and romance and mystery. And there's some cutthroat things going on, as I'm sure you know.
Yes.
And so to answer your question, part B, how did I get started writing mysteries? I've been a mystery fan forever. When I was a kid, I had insomnia, and what put me to sleep were reading cozy mysteries. I just loved them. The humor and puzzles and solving, and how do you solve this puzzle? And in my own books, I just love giving the clues and the red herrings. Of course, the humor and the cozy locations and the romance, the LGBTQ romance. But I really love the idea of that final reveal when the reader says, oh, it was there all along and I missed it. Who did it? And so, again, I read so many cozy mysteries, I thought, I could do this. So I started publishing, in addition to romance, I started to publish mystery. And there's very few people writing LGBTQ cozy mystery. There's a lot of dark mystery, a lot of seedy in the bars, but there's not a lot of funny LGBTQ mystery out there. And so I thought I would do that. And then, of course, I got a whole other fan base with the Nicky and Noah Mysteries are people who like humor and mystery. And so that was a lot of fun to cross over into that genre.
Right. I was going to say, I bet you get kind of an interesting mix of readers, people who like the LGBTQ romance, but people who are cozy mystery readers who also want more LGBT representation, because I think it is, and again, I think part of this is unfortunately still a kind of reflection of where the trad publishing industry is still kind of at, that they have not really advanced a whole lot in terms of offering that type of representation. And so a lot of it's going indie, and there is an audience for it. So
well, I'll tell you a secret. Well, it's not going to be a secret any longer.
Okay.
So my LGBTQ romance are published with Dream Spinner Press and Nine Star Press.
Okay.
When I wrote the Nicky and Noah Mysteries, I sent them around. Nobody wanted to publish them. They just thought they were who's going to want this humor? They're so campy and funny, and who's going to want this? So I published them myself, and they're my biggest sellers.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, I, as somebody, who came out in the 90s as a queer person, like, I have always been a lover of camp. And, I used to, at one point I lived in Atlanta, and I was really, involved in, mostly attending. I was not a performer myself, but attending the drag scene there, where they have a really big drag queen and drag king scene in Atlanta. And I love the kind of like the artifice and exaggeration of camp, and humor is such an important part of it. And I also write kind of rom-coms, sci-fi and paranormal rom-coms that bring in a lot of kind of campy, over the top type of humor. And I think, there is a long, important history behind that within queer culture. And it's really great to see authors like yourself also bringing that into your fiction.
Thank you. This is the cover of the first one, the
Drama
nice. Queen. And, it's a mystery with every element of a whodunit you could want, but it's funny and campy. And there is an audience for that. And I guess even the small publishers don't realize it.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think it's starting to change and people are starting to recognize, but it is a slow process. But I think we're doing important work in contributing to that and building a legacy and a history for our future LGBTQ readers and allies who also enjoy reading these types of stories for sure. Um, well, can you tell me, so, you mentioned obviously you've had a really fascinating kind of career, multiple careers essentially. But did you want to be a writer when you were a child, or did you have some kind of other ambition? Was it theater for you first and foremost, or?
Absolutely. I wanted to be a star.
Yeah. Hmm.
My 98-year-old mother the other day said to me, I remember when you started out seeing you in plays and TV shows with Nathan Lane and Rosie O'Donnell, the people you mentioned,
Hmm.
and Jason Robards and the Bruce Willis. And it's interesting that they all became stars and you didn't.
Oh, no.
I said, yeah, but they're not right. Well, actually, Nathan Lane and his husband are writing children books.
Oh,
Yeah. But except for that, they're not writing books. I wrote 34 books. So it
ah,
doesn't really, I don't think in life you have to plan out. I would tell this to my students. You don't have to have all the answers in the beginning, plan
yeah.
everything out. Maybe
Mm,
because I taught at a community college. Maybe right now you want to do this, but you'll find you do that and you do that. I
right.
never had aspirations to be a college professor or a department chair
Mm,
or a
mm,
writer. It
yeah.
just segued because acting is telling a story, and so is writing, and
Yeah.
so is teaching, so is directing. So
Right.
everything just segued, and you don't have to have all the answers in the beginning.
No, I completely agree. I mean, I think that what really stands out to me about that trajectory, however, is the bravery to explore different opportunities. I think the older I get, the more I recognize people are often really reluctant to break out of the safe, the familiar, the certain, right? To take a chance. And I think, if you have a dream or an aspiration, especially for something creative, like whether it be writing, whether it be acting, singing, dancing, whatever, I think that uh, even if it doesn't lead to, I don't know, riches and fame and fortune or whatever, right? There is something incredibly soul nourishing and rewarding about allowing yourself to do that and express your creativity. And I think we need more of that in culture.
Yes, exactly. And to take a risk. I'll give you another example you'll like because of your
Oh,
wonderful books. But here's an example I think you'll like.
okay.
So, a lot of readers would say to me, have you ever thought about writing supernatural? And it's just not an area I read a lot or really
Sure.
like. My husband is a big Star Trek fan. I don't
Oh,
get
yeah.
Star Trek. People may hate me for
Okay.
that, but I just don't get it. So I thought fantasy, maybe not so much, but I tried it
Yeah.
and I said, I'm going to give this a whirl.
Yeah.
And Dream Spinner Press liked and published The Player, and I also have The Player's Encore, which is about a young music teacher who buys a player piano. And when he plays it, out comes the ghost of a dapper 1920s gorgeous guy who was
Ooh,
rich and dapper. And he died, and he's a ghost.
yeah.
And the two of them solve murder mysteries together.
Oh, wow.
And I named him after my husband. He's Freddie,
Oh, nice.
and he was from the 1920s, the flapper era,
Yeah, yeah.
and he knew all the celebrities back then,
Oh,
and
Rudolph
so
Valentino,
yeah, he knew
all of
everybody,
that.
right? And so he also knew Agatha Christie and all these people.
Mm,
So he's able to help solve murder mysteries, and that was a leap for me
yeah.
because I really never thought I would do anything supernatural in any way, but I was excited that like you said, I went into a new area.
Yeah, I mean, I think it, it's one of those like you don't regret the things you do, you regret what you didn't do kind of. I think it's always worth trying something out if you're like, hey, this is interesting. I want to give it a shot.
Right.
Might as well.
Right.
And if it
Yeah.
doesn't work, you try something else, you
Right.
go back to
Right.
what is working for you. But yeah, I mean, you never know until you try. And so I think it's
Mm.
really, I think it's really wonderful that, you have, and you bring a lot of obviously your background in acting and other stuff into your work. But do you feel like, obviously, writers don't know everything. So we often have to do a lot of research depending on what it is we're writing. So what kinds of things have you found you've had to research that were really interesting for any of the books that you've written?
Well, they say start with writing what you know. So that's what I did. I wrote about, as I said, my high school years, my college years,
Yes,
and
yes.
then my Nicky and Noah and the Nicky and Noah Mysteries are college theater professors. So I knew that world, and
Yeah.
I was able to. And their campus actually is gorgeous. I based it in my head on Harvard or just a beautiful
Oh, yeah.
college like that. But I taught at a community college that wasn't quite that beautiful. But I set it in cozy Vermont in the winter and just made it really nice. But I did write about the world that I knew.
Mhm.
But when I branched out, what I did was a lot of travel and set
Mhm.
a number of my books in places that I traveled to
Oh,
and
nice.
had known much about, like the Bobby and Paolo holiday stories,
Yeah.
also Dream Spinner Press. Bobby is an American who goes to the beautiful island of Capri, which I did,
Oh,
and meets I don't know, sixth, seventh, eighth, whatever cousin,
yeah.
and they have a romance. They come back to the US, they get married, they adopt a child, and each story about them is a different Christmas holiday.
Oh, fun.
So, had I not gone to Capri, that story wouldn't have.
Right.
And Capri is, have you been? It's absolutely
I
gorgeous.
have not. I've been
Uh,
to Italy, but I have not been to Capri. No.
It's really beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
And the same with the Nicky and Noah mysteries, because I didn't want to just keep them in the campus. So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
traveled.
Hmm.
And so I went to Scotland. We went to Scotland
Ooh.
and we stayed in a castle, which was gorgeous.
Hmm.
So one of the Nicky and Noah mysteries, they do that. It's called Drama Castle, and they're
Hmm.
going to do a movie actually there.
Oh, fun.
And so again, I put in all my where I went and
Yeah.
my different thoughts. And the same thing, there's a Nicky and Noah mystery in Key West. They go to do a theme
Hmm.
park show there.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's one in
Great.
San Francisco. They go to do a theme park show there. So wherever I would go to travel, I would put into one of the
Oh, that's
books.
great. I mean, yeah, I when I was younger, I always I loved cozy mysteries too, and I actually really love the mystery genre, and my dad's side of the family is all from England, and so I was used to a lot of like the BBC mysteries and like Midsummer Murders and all of those kinds of things, and I used to watch the old like Basil Rathbone, Sherlock Holmes films with my grandmother, stuff like that. And I have not tried writing a mystery, mostly because I'm a little bit more of a discovery writer than a plotter. And I feel like mystery, you have to plot a lot more to be able to write it. But I always enjoyed being transported to these other locations, right? Especially when I was younger and I hadn't had opportunities to travel before, but even other readers now, whether it's due to cost or life circumstances, they can't necessarily travel, but they can be transported by the power of a book, which I think is so remarkable. And we'll have to talk more at some point about Scotland because I lived there for a while. I did my master's at the University of Edinburgh many years ago now. But so I lived there for a year, and it's a wonderful place. And I actually have a book coming out in 2024 that's going to be set in Scotland. And so, yeah.
Scotland's gorgeous.
It is.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the third Nicky and Noah mystery was Drama Cruise, where they go on a cruise. They do a cruise show to Alaska. So that was when we did a cruise to Alaska. Great. And they get married there, Nicky and Noah. And then in the fourth one, Drama Luau, they go on their honeymoon to Hawaii, to Maui, because we did that. And they adopt a son there. So any place we went, Nicky and Noah would ultimately, would ultimately go.
Well, Joe, in any future ones, you can use these as like tax write-offs for research. But you can use them as like use vacations as tax write-offs if you're doing research for them for books.
Absolutely. Yeah, there you go. And the other thing I wanted to comment on that you said about writing mysteries, you have to plot it out. You sure do. Unlike romance, where you said you could just see where the characters go. Right. You know that they're going to have a fun meeting. You know there's going to be conflict, and you know they're going to end up together at the end. Mm-hmm. But in a mystery, you have to plot out every clue and hide it, and every red herring, and then have the big reveal at the end. I don't like mysteries where they just pick somebody at the end who did it.
Yes.
What's the point of that?
Yeah.
I also don't like when it goes from book to book to book and you have to read 20 books to figure out who. Let's have each book be a mystery with a beginning, middle, and end.
Right.
And so to do that, you really have to plot. And the other thing I find about mysteries, the middle of the books are generally boring. And so what I try to do is have events happen in the middle.
Okay.
And so whatever it is, whether it's additional clues or murders or romances, but keep the middle interesting, because I find that the middle of mysteries lag. So you do have to plot it out. I encourage you to do it, but
I might.
To have a really good outline first.
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's always interesting. Everybody's writing process is a little different. And I just find for me, sometimes if I plot out too much, I lose interest in writing the story. Mm-hmm. It's that kind of like Alfred Hitchcock phenomenon, right? Of like, he storyboards the film and then he's like, oh, now I gotta film it. This is not the exciting part. So yeah, I mean, I think that writing mysteries, it takes a level of kind of organization, and like really thoughtful attention to detail to make sure that you can have those critical points along the way to keep it satisfying for the mystery lovers in the audience.
Absolutely. I had to do the same thing with my Cozzi Cove series, which is published by 9 Star Press. And it's about Tom Cozzi, who runs a gay and LGBTQ summer resort in the New Jersey shore. And so every summer you find out about him and his life, but also the guests that are there. It's almost like a soap opera. It's all intertwined. Mm-hmm. So you keep going in and out of the different cottages on this New Jersey shore place, and you get everybody's story. And there's a lot of surprises and twists and turns. And of course, romance. That's me on the cover. That's the first one.
Looking good.
That's Cal Cozzi, who was a football player and came out and inherited this resort on the New Jersey shore. And so I had to really outline that, because if you think about 6 stories at the same time, intertwining in the different cottages on the beach, and just like a soap, how they cut in and out. And I couldn't have done that without outlining. And like you, I think, I just want to see where it goes. It wouldn't have worked in those 5 novels, because the stories are all so intercut and intertwined.
Right. Yeah. Well, if I ever decide to write a mystery, I may come knocking on your door for some advice. But this is a wonderful segue into. I'd love to talk about your latest release, Drama King, the 18th in the Nicky and Noah mystery series. Can you tell us a little bit about this, and why did you sort of how did you choose the topic for this particular book?
Well, this is book 18. And this actually ends the series. They say never say never. I mean, I didn't kill off the leading characters,
right.
so there could be more. But there is an ending in that the leading characters all go to a nice place, and
Yeah.
I said that this is the ending. But
Okay.
in this particular one, Nicky and Noah are doing a play back at Tree Meadow College.
Yeah.
And Tree Meadow College is named after Tree and Meadow, a gay couple who funded the college and then died. And Nicky and Noah's theater department are doing a musical version of King Arthur.
Oh.
And it's called Knights in Tights. And of course,
Men in Tights, the movie.
Right. And of course, there's murder galore, romance galore, humor galore. And they ultimately, of course, as always, solve the mystery. And how they do it is because they're theater people, they play different characters and play different roles to get information instead of dry interviews. They get their information from suspects by pretending they're other people, acting out roles, and they ultimately solve the mystery. And it was just released October 1st in ebook and paperback.
Oh, cool.
And the Nicky and Noah mysteries were a little behind, but we're catching up on the audiobooks. And so Brian Cheney, who's going to join us soon, has been, well, actually, there were a number of people I've worked with, audiobook narrators, but he's the latest.
Okay.
And he's been doing them, and we're going to do them, and we're going to catch up, even though we're not there yet. And I think we're up to book 13 and 14.
Oh, so close.
Yeah. So we have 4 more to do, and then we'll have everything on audiobook.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I love audio. I have been an audiophile for many years. I remember checking out cassette tapes and CDs of books from the library when I was younger. And then, of course, with the advent of digital, I absolutely adore that. And, sometimes with my schedule, I find it's easier for me to read a book by listening to it while I'm taking care of errands, cleaning dishes, doing whatever. Life is sometimes really busy, and to just sit down and read uninterrupted, I find, I don't know, I'd love to hear your perspective on this, but I find when I started writing, I had less time to read because I was, partly because I still have a full-time day job. But then in my free time, I was writing. Did you find that something similar happened to you?
Absolutely. By the way, I did, since we're tea and talk, I brought wild berry tea because I'm wild. So
oh, fantastic. I know. I forgot to ask at the start. I am drinking it's called a milk oolong. So it's an oolong that has kind of a creamy note to it. It's quite nice. Yeah.
Yes. But to answer your question, absolutely. I've been listening to audiobooks a lot more since I've been writing. And I can also share with you, I don't know if you know Joel Leslie, who's a big star or narrator. Really, he's won all the awards and everyone. He did some of my books for Dream Spinner Press. He did The Naked Prince and Other Tales from Fairyland.
Oh, nice.
Is part of this. And then I also have Holiday Tales from Fairyland. But he did the first part, the Naked Prince and Other Tales from Fairyland. And The Naked Prince is about, I would read all these fairy tales and say, why aren't there any gay fairy tales?
Right.
So I wrote them. And I took all the famous fairy tales and put my funny gay twist on them.
I love that. Hold
Well,
on.
why not? It's about time.
Right?
So Cinder gets his stepsisters ready for the ball, but he falls in love with the prince, you know.
Yes.
And Goldie is a cute boy who goes with 3 bears. And so there's all the famous fairy tales done with a gay twist. And Joel Leslie does all these voices and accents, and
He's great at that.
he did a great job with that book. Oh, he also did the first Bobby and Paolo holiday story, Home for the Holidays. He did that too. So I'm lucky. I've worked with a lot of really, really good narrators. I've had several for the Nicky and Noah mysteries. I did the first Cozzi Cove book they've just all been really good and really committed, very versatile. Brian Cheney, who you're going to meet in a few minutes, probably though has been the best to work with. He's just the nicest guy. And he's an opera singer. So in the Nicky and Noah mysteries, a lot of them are based on, they do a musical, a campy musical. And so like in Drama Pan, they're doing their musical version of Peter Pan called Every Fairy Needs a Big Hook. And so I would write occasionally little lyrics and he would sing them in the audiobook because he's a singer.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yeah. And it was the same thing with Drama Christmas, because Nicky and Noah did a musical version at their college of A Christmas Carol called Call Me Carol. And he, again, when there were little lyric things, he would sing them, which how many audiobook narrators are opera singers that can do that?
Right. Yeah, I know. I think when you're writing something, it can be challenging to think, okay, I'm going to have an audiobook narrator sing some of this for me. Who can do this?
And he did such a great job. He really did. And so he's working on the 4th one now. And we're going to go through Drama TV. We're waiting for it to be released. It's done, but we're waiting to release. And he's right now doing Drama Oz, where they do a musical version of The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, wow.
So he's doing that, and we're going to go through, and then he'll finish up at the.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah. I've had a lot of fun working with, I've only just kind of started dipping my toes into audio, and I've been working with Greg Boudreau, who is, really, really amazing. And he is really well suited to kind of my brand of storytelling. And it's just been a delight it's so wonderful to hear somebody who is talented at audiobook narration bring your story and your characters to life in a way you've only kind of heard in your head.
Yes. Absolutely. And the good thing about the narrators I work with, particularly Brian, is we have the same sense of humor, and he just gets the timing and the sense of humor. And it's just wonderful to have that. One of my books is not on audio yet. And you just reminded me, this is another Dream Spinner Press. I should get this on audio. Found at Last. This is about a young gay couple who go out and help older gay men who were separated years and years before because of homophobia, and get them back together.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah.
This was in the military, and this story was at a camp where these young guys were separated many years ago. Now they're all men, and this young couple finds them and gets them back together. Beautiful love story. And I don't have this one on audio, so you just remind me I've got to do that.
Well, glad I could help.
I'll dedicate it to you.
I would not oppose. No. Tell me a little bit, you have been writing, so now you've come to the end of the Nicky and Noah. I guess I have kind of 2 related questions. One is that's a long time for a series. That's a lot of books. Who's your favorite character to write in that?
Well, Nicky absolutely is my favorite character. He is absolutely hysterical. It's a first person, and so he narrates. and he just says what's on his mind. He'll say, this character's happier than a priest at altar boy induction. Funny, bizarre, or happier than an anti-gay politician in the back room of a gay bar during a blackout. I laugh out loud when I write them. I feel like I'm channeling him.
Yeah.
And what I love about him is that he's very good looking and very virile and a real hero, but he's a kind person and he wants to solve these mysteries to help people.
Right.
That's his goal.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that about the armchair mystery, where these people aren't hired. They're not police officers. They're doing it because they really want to help.
Right.
And I love that. And he's funny. I also love that he loves Noah so much and they are committed to each other. Yeah. They're monogamous, and as I am in my marriage. And they've adopted a son, and they are very much there for their students. Yeah. And they love theater. And I just love everything about Nicky. If Nicky were real, I would marry him.
Well, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I really like this idea of channeling the character. I think that's often something many of us as writers experience with, and sometimes I don't even know what the character is going to say next, and it can surprise me, shock me, and make me laugh my ass off, right? So that's part of the excitement or joy, I think, in the writing process. Well, I know that Brian's going to be joining us here in a moment, but I guess maybe I often like to talk with established writers like yourself who've been doing this for a while. Sometimes we have a lot of like new or aspiring authors who are listening to the show. Do you have any kind of advice for them?
Absolutely. My advice is to write from your heart. And write what you love, write in the genre you love to read, and write what you love. Don't try to imitate anybody. Be you. And your gift is what's important. In other words, the Nicky and Noah mysteries have been written already. Write. Don't try to copy me. Write what you're good at and write it what you do well. And if agents aren't interested, if publishers aren't interested, publish them yourself. Yeah,
for sure.
You can do that nowadays with Amazon. It's very easy to do. And why not? If you've got something to say, one reader emailed me, and actually she used to review books for a blog, and she always would give me very good reviews, which I appreciated. And she told me that her husband was very sick, and she read him one of the Nicky and Noah mysteries. He laughed so hard he got better. So I healed her husband. But the point is, that's what I do. So I don't write dark mysteries. Yeah. And so I'm not going to try to write a dark, it's just not where I am. But if you do something, if other people say, oh, it's not my cup of tea, fine, just do it anyway. That would be my advice.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it looks like Brian is here, so I'm going to let him in and join us.
Brian, I've been singing your praises for the last 10 minutes.
Wow, Joe. Thanks.
But I shouldn't say singing to an opera singer. I wasn't singing. I was talking. Though I did mention you sing the lyrics in the Nicky and Noah mystery novels, which is great. Love that.
Yeah, it's hard to find a narrator who has that in their repertoire in addition to everything else. Let me take a minute, though, and briefly introduce you, Brian, to our watchers here today. So Brian Cheney is an international opera star, having performed leading roles in famous operas with the National Philharmonic, Virginia Opera, Toledo Opera, and Salute to Vienna performances in Miami, West Palm Beach, Nashville, and New York City at the Lincoln Center. In audiobooks, Mr. Cheney performed Drama Christmas, the 11th Nicky and Noah mystery novel by Joe Cosentino, Drama Pan, Drama TV, those are the 12th and 13th books. All the King's Men by Scott Leddy, Swarm by Guy Morris, The Last Ark by Guy Morris, and Pressure by Brian Napier. So welcome to our talk here today, Brian. We would love to hear more about you and your experience narrating the Nicky and Noah mysteries.
Well, thank you for having me. Cheers, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be here, and I just love working with Joe. He's amazing. I got into audiobook narrating through Audible.
Yeah.
Just earlier this year, I have been, like you said, I've been an opera singer most of my career, and the pandemic threw a wrench in that. But I used it through a lot of therapy and self-reflection and realizing that there are a lot of other things that I can do well. I pivoted. And so in addition to being a classical artist, I also now have an agent for film and television and theatrical work.
Oh.
And I have this amazing microphone that was just collecting dust in the corner after the pandemic. And I used it to record some albums with some composers in Europe. And I saw it as I was in my studio earlier this year. And I just thought, what else could I be doing with that? Yeah. And I thought, hey, let me try some voiceover work. And I loved reading books to my kids when they were little. I have 2 adult daughters now, and I did all the voices and I just loved that time. And so I created a little sound booth, set up my audio setup with my mic, and I just let my imagination go wild. And so I have a blast. And when I came across the audition for Joe's book, Drama Christmas, I saw the material and I immediately started giggling and realized that Joe is my people. Joe, you have my sense of humor. And I think it's pretty clear the way I'm narrating the books, and I didn't get much direction at first. And so I felt like I was taking a leap of faith I was like, okay, well, I trust Joe. He's going to let me know if this is too much or too little. I came up with the idea of singing some of these lyrics with these zany song numbers that Joe described. And I was expecting him to give me notes after the first chapter that I sent to him to say, okay, it's great. It's a little much. I think you can down a little bit, but he didn't. He said, I love it. It's great. And so I've just been having a blast. I love reading Joe's books.
That's so wonderful. I mean, I think that we were talking a little bit earlier about how as authors, at least for us, it's this really amazing experience when we get to hear somebody bring our characters and our words to life in a way that we've only kind of really heard in our own heads. So I guess in terms of like you thinking about like narrating for books, like what is your process? How do you do you read the book first and then kind of think through how you want to voice the characters? Do you kind of do a cold read through? Like what's your process?
Can I just jump in and say, I know he doesn't read the whole book before because he's surprised at who done it at the end.
Oh,
yeah, it's true. Joe's right. I find it. So look, I'm doing audiobook narration because I really love it. I enjoy it. There's not a whole lot of money in this thing, and I'm not doing it for income. I'm doing it because I really enjoy it and it's fun. And it reminds me of reading books to my kids when they were young. So, so what was the question again? Oh, do I know?
Process.
So,
what's your process?
What I do is I read Joe, with Joe's books, he's got a great character breakdown. All of the characters, and just a little brief bio on who they are, and that gives me an idea of, okay, where we're headed with the book. And then I prefer, because it's more fun for me as the reader, and I think it comes across in the narration, in the final product, that I'm really discovering it while I'm reading it. And of course, you know, if I misjudge something that's coming down in a couple of paragraphs that I may have narrated incorrectly, or set the tone a little bit differently, I go back and I change it, and that's no problem. I'd much rather do that and be excited and find out who done it, when everybody else figures that out. And I just think that's so much fun.
And there's so many characters, and Brian does each voice differently. As I said, 5 people get killed a book. You have a lot of suspects and a lot of regulars. Each one sounds different. It's just amazing how talented you are. I still can't believe it when I hear the book.
Thank you, Joe.
And your background matches your shirt.
Hey, how about that?
Very classy. Very classy. Now, I mean, I think it's, you know, in some respects, I'm not all that surprised. Like, I mean, I feel like there is a lot that one has to do in training your voice for opera, to be able to perform different kinds of pieces, that it's not that dissimilar, I think, probably from, you know, manipulating your voice for characters. Do you think that your opera background actually gives you sort of an advantage in this process?
Yeah, it's a good point that you make, Chloe. I think the answer is yes, but from a tonal perspective.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to find just different tones to these voices, and once I kind of latch on to that idea, then a character comes fairly easily. For example, I'm narrating drama Oz right now, and which is the 14th book, and I just finished chapter 1. Thank you for the notes, by the way, Joe. And I had such a great time coming up with this character's voice, Bria Newkirk. And I don't know why. It turned out to be a great choice. I'm not going to give any spoilers away.
Yeah.
It turned out to be a great choice because I turned her into like this, like, really entitled Valley girl. And I don't know why I did, but it just seemed to work. And with Joe's writing, it just all makes sense. So yeah, it's great.
Well, so you've done a couple of books in the series now. I was asking Joe earlier who his favorite character is, but who's your favorite character to narrate?
I have 2. That's an easy answer. I have 2 favorite characters. I think they go hand in hand. It's Martin and Ruben. They are this delightful older couple, and they give each other a hard time nonstop. They're constantly just ragging on each other, and it is hilarious because each time they do, and it's all in fun, and it's so great. But especially Martin, he has such a flair for the dramatic. He's the ultimate thespian. And so he's always over the top, and Martin always brings him back, or Ruben always brings Martin back down to earth, I think. He's very grounding.
And when we do the TV series, I think Brian should be Nicky and I should be Martin.
Perfect. Let's do it. Let's do it.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I'm living for the day where, you know, TV is going to start picking up on some of these LGBTQ mysteries and romances. We're gonna get some more of that on screen.
Yeah,
I have no doubt.
There's a role for you too, Chloe. There's a million roles, so we'll put you in there somewhere too.
I don't have any acting chops, I have to be honest. But I'm happy to assist in the screenplay writing or something like that. I'm a behind the scenes person probably for that. But so Brian, can you tell us a little bit about sort of like what you find challenging about narrating the books? Like, is there anything you have encountered, especially since this is sort of newer for you, that is more difficult, certain types of characters or just some of the more technical sides of the process?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the most challenging part of reading Joe's books as a performer is to really strive to get the pacing and the comedic timing down.
Yeah.
That is such a challenge. Like I am not passively reading these books because I have to always be on, like, right on the razor's edge as an actor, and think of the timing and how the listener is actually going to receive the setup and then the punchline, or the multiple setups that go to a final punchline. And I think Joe makes it easy, because Joe, you're just a fantastically wonderful writer, and I love your humor. So I think that makes me want to do an even better job, because I know that the timing really makes a difference. So I think that's the most challenging thing for me, is the timing.
Okay.
And you have it perfectly. I remember Neil Simon in an interview saying, I know a minute into an audition if this is a Neil Simon actor, because it's music, the way he writes, which is why writers don't like when actors paraphrase, because there's a musicality to the humor. And I think Brian is just perfect, and all the Nicky asides and everything, the timing is just right.
That's wonderful. I look forward to listening to some of these and seeing what you do with it. But Brian, this is, I guess, an opportunity, I guess, a little bit for you. Many of my listeners and watchers here are part of the bigger LGBTQ romance writing community, with subgenres in mystery, in contemporary, in sci-fi, paranormal, all of the things, right? Are you interested in branching out and narrating more within this larger genre? And are there any particular categories that would appeal to you for any authors who might be looking for a future narrator?
First, he's doing the rest of the Nicky and Noah mysteries. He's spoken for. We've got 4 more.
Yes. Okay. Just that caveat has been made and acknowledged.
Right. I am always open, and I love suspense thrillers. I love murder mysteries. As witnessed today, I love comedy. There is a specific brand. I do not mean this disparagingly, Joe. I think you get it, but I love, like, just silly, dumb humor. And it's Joe, you're brilliant, because like I said, I read that audition and I was like, oh my God, I have to audition for this. I have to do it. And I was crossing my fingers that he would choose me, because it was just silly. So I love all kinds of books. I am interested in storytelling. So yes, I'm open.
Okay. All right. Well, I will make sure that we include your website and kind of contact details in the show notes. But we are just about at the end of our time here. So I want to thank you both for joining us. And I'd love for, each of you to kind of give us a little sense of what can our readers or listeners expect from you coming up here in the near future or into 2024? What do you have for us? Joe, do you want to start?
Yeah, well, as I said, we've got the last 4 Nicky and Noah mysteries. I'm really excited about getting the whole series on audiobook, because it's so theatrical. It really, I think that's how it should be experienced, is to be heard. And maybe even someday seen on TV, which would be great, because it's so theatrical. And Brian is a big opera star. He's going to be doing a holiday show, which you should tell us about.
Yeah. And I agree. I can't wait to narrate the rest of this series. I'm honored, by the way. Thank you. Yeah, so I do this wonderful New Year's concert. This will be my 11th year in a row doing this. It's called Salute to Vienna. It's a Viennese New Year's concert, and it's performed in wonderful concert halls all around North America. And so the formula is the same in each location or each tour. There's a tenor, a soprano, ballroom dancing, and ballet dancing. And I sing Viennese operetta. And it's all in German, and it's this gorgeous, wonderful celebration of the new year. And it's given me such a great opportunity to sing in almost every of the great concert halls in North America.
Wow.
So this year I'll be in Washington, D.C., in New Jersey, and then at Lincoln Center.
Oh, wow. So are any of these televised?
No, they used to be televised on PBS, but that was years and years ago. But yeah, tickets are available. Get your tickets. Lincoln Center on the 1st to ring in before. Yeah.
That's really exciting. Now, are you beyond the Nicky and Noah books? Are you going to be releasing any other audiobooks into 2024?
Yes, I'm actually recording a second book in a 2-book series right now, written by Scott Leddy.
Okay.
And it is this really interesting supernatural Vietnam War type book. Very heavy, very dark, totally different than Joe's books. And so that I should be finished with that within the next month or two. So I would expect that to be out in early 24.
Okay. Well, it must be nice to get to work with kind of a range of things and really kind of test where you can go as an audiobook narrator.
I love it.
That's great. And Joe, because I wanted to ask you because, you're at the end. I mean, at least for now, of the Nicky and Noah series. Do you know what you're going to be working on next? Are you going to start a new series? Are you going to continue something else you've done kind of more on the side?
Well, I've written 34 novels, as I mentioned. And my mother said, 98, said, don't you have anything better to do than write novels? I wonder if Stephen King's mother said that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Mom.
Yeah, thank you. So actually, what I've been doing is screenplay versions of some of my books.
Oh.
And so that's my goal, is to do some more screenplays and then obviously try to get them.
Shop them around.
So if any producers are watching, contact me, because that's what I'm doing. I'm in the process of doing, not just for Nicky and Noah, for a few of the other series, doing telepilot screenplays.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, this has been just a really wonderful and fascinating conversation with both of you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to chat with me. I will provide you all with links and information that you can share with your followers when the show goes on YouTube. And to my viewers, thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back in December with another episode. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thank you.